oppressed, we survive anyway. Because survival is our legacy. There are days when I look at the two of you, and my heart swells with pride, and I think about all that you used to be and all that you became to become, and then I stop and I catch my breath. I grab my purse and I clutch my pearls. I blink back tears and I shake my head, for I am sure that the mother of every unarmed boy, black, white, or brown, who has died kneeling at the feet of a system where guilty verdicts are meted out, one chokehold at a time, one gunshot at a time, one lynching at a time, one whipping at a time. I think of them daily. What mother of boys doesn't? I try to speak their names going back as far as I can remember, adding new names daily. I think of Emmett Till and Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown and Tyrone West. I think of Tamir Rice, and my eyes fill with tears. I do that so that I can remember, so that the two of my boys can never forget, so that together we can add their names and their lives to the wind, so that a piece of them, and at this moment will remain at this place, even though we, as a society, will move on. They're nice when I stand in the doorway of their room, not to wake them up for the revolution, but simply to remind myself that just for a moment, they are still safe and they are still here. All I want at this moment is what every mother wants around the world. The simple comfort of knowing that my son's life does matter, and that my work to pour out life and love and truth into him will not be in vain. I move from being upset and hurt to being angry and infuriated. Because from Skittles to hoodies, loud rap music to cigarillos, toy guns to iced tea, whether you are 18 or 12, college bound or not, a homeboy or a choir boy, hands held up or down on your knees, walking in the street or standing in Walmart during the day or at night, in Ohio or in Florida or in Baltimore, black boys, my boys, are not safe in this country. As a very angry mother, I cannot rest and will not rest until that truth, that sad reality has been changed. We are survivors. We are stubborn, we are strong-willed. Survival is our legacy, and surviving every day in this system is our goal. I wait for that day for freedom, and when that day comes, I will stand as your mother and smile and be proud.
We are thankful for Dr. Whitehead and the many gifts that she brings to the table to these types of very important moments. My name is Heber Brown, and I'm a proud Baltimorean, born and raised right here in this city, and I love it. Also, we give it up for Baltimore. Where's Baltimore at? Also, I'm blessed right now with a number of hats. I'm the pastor of Pleasant Hope Baptist Church in North Baltimore, near York Road and Belvedere. I'm also the founding executive director of Orita's Cross Freedom School, where we are raising the next generation of change makers. In addition to that, I'm a dad of 2 sons as well, who, like many of you, is just trying to do my part to make sure that when I lay down to rise no more, that this world is a little bit better for my children and for your children as well. I've been organizing and engaged in activism in this city for more than a decade. I've been organizing on the fronts of Black Power, on human rights and social justice for a very long time. And it's great to see so many of you in this room and in different places and in campaigns and the like. We've been side by side. I would just amend one thing that Dr. Whitehead said, that I am not, there's not a group of you on my back pushing me to the fore. I am your brother. I am shoulder to shoulder with many of you. I am no leader. I am no expert. I'm a brother from Baltimore trying to do my part. For many of you as well, we've seen one another in various settings, especially in recent days. So in fact, I just want to do a little roll call real quick. Is Morgan State in the house tonight? Where's Morgan State? Come on, Morgan. Act like, come on, Morgan.
I'm sorry, wait a minute. Is Loyola University in the place tonight?
Is Towson here tonight? Let's gouge your hair tonight. Hopkins, y'all in the house tonight? Wow, all right. Independence over there. All right, Independence. Okay, well, it's good to see everybody. Let's get after that wonderful poem. Let's get the energy up a little bit, because this is not going to be no talking session and election where we just talk at you. We're going to be going back and forth a little bit at different points, and so let's get the energy up a little bit. Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Here's one. Whose time? Our time. Whose time?
Our time.
Whose time?
Our time.
Whose time?
Our time.
Whose time?
Our time.
My man Joseph, can hit us off with one more, man. Do one of yours that you've been leading us over the past couple of weeks. Hit us up, man.
Hands up!
Don't shoot.
Hands up!
Don't shoot.
Hands up!
Don't shoot.
Hands up!
Don't shoot.
No justice!
No peace.
No justice!
No peace.
No justice!
No peace.
No racist!
Police.
That's it. Come on, give it up for my man right there. I've been marching with my brother for the past couple of weeks. I said Dr. Kingdom came back in tattoos and gold fronts. That's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Baltimore Black family as well. And look, there's a whole bunch of groups here tonight represented. I want to give respect and love to all the groups represented as well. So I know Baltimore Black is here. Give it up for Baltimore Black. Been represented for a long time, particularly with the Tyrone West Coalition. What other groups are represented? Call them out. What? UPP is in the house. Ojima's People's Party is in the house. What other groups in the house? Say it again.
Progressive Labor Party.
Progressive Labor.
LBS.
LBS.
International Socialist Organization.
There you go.
Socialist organization.
ISO.
African Psychology Association. Bowie State University.
Bowie State University in the house. Go ahead, all right. Who else? Communist Party Baltimore branch is here. Baltimore Algebra Project is here. Who that? There you go. All right, everybody. Listen, mad love to everybody. Everybody's important. Everybody has a role. Everybody brings so much to the table. So let me give a real quick point real quick, and we're going to make transition. But in terms of the occasion tonight, let's be clear on a few things right at the top. Because for many of us, especially those people who are in various organizations, we've been to many talks, you've been to many roundtables, you've been to many lectures. I've learned a few things in my short little few days on this earth about these type of events. Few things we gotta get clear about. Number one, we are not going to solve all the issues of the world, or even all the issues related to Ferguson or racism in Baltimore in this one night. Can we agree on that? We're not going to do that all tonight, right? We're going to help to continue a conversation and link people together. That's one of my primary goals tonight, because sometimes we organize in silos, but really we got to organize and then see where there's commonality and connection to other groups as well. Another thing we got to be clear about, I believe anyway, is that no one of us has the answer to all of this. If you are in the room tonight and you believe you have the answer to all of this, then I need to give you a thanks and praise, because you got to be God. But none of us have all the answers. We each bring something to the table, and so not only must we speak and share of the truth that we know, but we also have to listen to the wisdom that is in that sister or that brother next to you. We all bring something to the table, all right? So those few things we got to be sensitive to, and Dr. Whitehead has some other pieces as well to help us to shape this night and make sure we walk away with something so that we might take this thing and keep on moving forward. In fact, let me share a few things on this occasion. We are here because this country is racist. We're here because this country is sexist. We're here because the systems of this country is meant to dehumanize, destroy, objectify, and outright decimate the beauty of what we can be together. But when I said whose time and y'all responded our time, I meant that, and y'all said it like you meant it too. And it's because I truly believe that it is our time. I believe that every generation has to rise up and find that purpose, that calling, that meaning, that objective that says this is going to be the defining moment of our time together. Can I assure you of a few things tonight, that especially for my college students, and this might be in finals time for some of y'all, or you about to get into your finals. Can I assure you of something right now tonight? 10, 20, 30 years from now, I promise you, No one is going to ask you what physics test you were taking this week. They're not going to ask you what psychology exam were you working on or what biology project were you engaged in. I promise you they're not going to ask you that. And if they do, you won't remember. Anything you're working on in relates to the classroom, listen, you're doing it because you got to try to get through school. But I promise you, a decade from now, you won't even remember what you were working on. What you will remember is this tonight. You will remember marching downtown and shutting everything down and making sure that the city paid attention to what was going on. You will remember that. You will remember that. You will remember marching at Towson University and marching. I heard Goucher started marching, and then Goucher marched down to Towson, and y'all marched all around Towson on yesterday. I remember Morgan State marching up and down and shutting down Cold Spring and Hillen Road and making sure nobody moved. I promise you, that is what you will remember. In 2002, I was a senior at Morgan State University. And in my senior year at Morgan, our student body got fed up because we had this old library called Soper, and we needed a brand new library with new resources. And so in my senior year at Morgan, we got together on buses. We went down to Annapolis. We marched all around Annapolis, around the State House. We made sure they all paid attention to us. And that is what I remember about my senior year at Morgan State. I can't tell you what classes I was taking, but I remember that we got together. And we protested because we knew that we deserved a quality education at that beautiful HBCU called Morgan State University.
I want to jump in here, Reverend Brown. I'm with the pastor up here, so I got to find a place to jump in. Which I can. My daddy's a pastor. At the same time, I think when we remember where we were this night, what I want to remember is that we were about change happening. It's not just about remembering when we marched and nothing changed. We talked about it and we had a good time, but nothing ever changed. That is why I am here. I am not originally from Baltimore. We've been here about 11 years. If you ask me on the street, I'll tell you I just got here. That's how it feels in Baltimore. Either you're here or you're not. This idea that we want change to take place. We are not meeting to remember the good times. We're talking about what we can do to make the system better. We do have a couple of ground rules that Reverend Brown said that I want to add to. One, I'd like us to see this place as a safe space. We all have different ideas. We all have different experiences. We should be free to share ideas, whether they're right or wrong, in this space. Two, we can disagree without being disagreeable. We're not trying to tear up red emmers, although that can happen. We don't want that to happen. We can do that. I want to caution people that when you hear something and you want to respond, take 2 breaths, just for a second, before you respond in anger and emotion. These are hard and difficult issues. Unlike Reverend Brown, this is what I do for a living at Loyola University. I do race, class, and gender. It's dirty work. It's messy work. It's hard work. It's emotional work. And nobody likes to do it. Because it means you have to take a hard, cold, long look at yourself. Because if we want things to change, it's not about asking them to change, whoever the them is in your mind. It really is starting with you and you being that change that you want to see. So tonight, I'm asking you, before you tell somebody else about the pieces in their eye, check out yourself first, because we are all products of this situation. We all grew up in America. We're all a part of the situation. We all have these tendencies in us. When we say the police, no racist police, I add no racist anybody. Black, white, or brown, police or teacher, store worker or Starbucks barista, anybody who has a tendency to view somebody else as less than them, that's who I want to confront. And that's who I want to change. And I start that with myself. Because why do I feel afraid when I see a black man walking down the street? Let's be honest. I cross the street too. And I cross the street angry with myself because I'm feeling afraid. Knowing that the system has taught me to be afraid. Sometimes because things have happened, and sometimes because they haven't. So that's what I mean about taking that hard, cold, long look at yourself. The last rule, I always think about my mom giving me the Vegas rule when I went off to college. She would say, when things happen in Vegas, they stay in Vegas. She said, you're not Vegas. When things happen, you need to tell the world. Because it's the Vegas rule that stops people in their track. That's how we hide things. We want to have body cameras to get away with the Vegas rule, right? So whatever happens on the street, whoever ends up dead, nobody really knows the story because only one person survives, only one account survives. We want transparency not just with our police officers and our politicians, but with one another. We want to lay it out and be vulnerable and be exposed. That is our final rule. Take a look, if you have it in front of you, with our agenda. This is what we are calling for, and this is what we're teaching from. It is a teaching. This is not a lecture. This is not a rally. It is a teaching. It's about coming up with some solutions and having an opportunity to share them. I am sure that you have a story. I am almost 100% certain that everybody here has a story. I am sure you have all kinds of incidences that have happened with the police. Perhaps you've been stopped. Perhaps you've been arrested. Perhaps you've had a gun pulled on you. Perhaps you've had an incident in the store. You have all these stories. Tonight, unfortunately, is not the story core. Though I'd love to share your story personally and individually. So when we start passing the mic, if you can jump to solutions, we would appreciate that because there are a lot of people here. If you can read along with me, I'm not going to assume you can't read, just assume you can and jump to a couple of points. This is a statement that Reverend Brown and I put together about where we stand on what happened in Ferguson. We are arguing, and I'm sure people will agree, that Ferguson is not about just Ferguson. If it was just about Ferguson, then we should be in Ferguson. But when we take this look out at what's happening across this country, we realize that Ferguson is about all types of communities. Ferguson is about oppression happening worldwide. That's why the UN talked about this. Not just because of one person, because it's an ongoing systemic issue that's happening in our country. This fight against racism is an old fight. And I'm sure there are people in here who've been on the front lines. We've been fighting this dragon forever. And I say we because the blood of my ancestors runs through me. My father fought for the civil rights movement. My great-grandfather died because he was fighting for the civil rights. They shot him dead at the door. This is a long battle. And it's a battle that unfortunately we have to win. Like, it has got to stop, and it needs to stop now. And it won't stop unless we organize. Taking another look, we argue that this system of justice for all does not seem to apply to black and brown communities, particularly black and brown communities that are severely impoverished. Because I've been in some very expensive black and brown communities, and they seem to have a good time out there. I'm talking about the severely impoverished communities, where they can shut us down by just putting up a barrier and making sure we only attack our neighborhoods and everything else is kept safe. In that second paragraph, we note that we have our prayers and our thoughts with the family and friends of Michael Brown, but we also added to every family and friend who's lost an unarmed child at the hands of the police. It was too many to name. Pages and pages of names, and we didn't want to offend anyone by leaving anyone out. So our prayers and our thoughts are with them. At the same time, we understand that Black life matters. And I know this week, Black life matters has spun into all life matters. I agree with that. But let's start with what the issue is on the table right now. And right now, we need to get people to understand that Black lives do matter. Because they do. And I'm just so sad that it's 2015. And we still have, and I say 2015 because really it's December. We're at the cusp of it. I mean, we should be long past Black. We should really be talking about all lives matter now. But we can't get there until we get this piece taken care of. And that's the same thing I feel. I do believe the voices of women matter. I have my feminist sister say, wait a minute, I agree with that. But we have an issue in front of us right now that's calling for us to make a statement and a stand. So let's do that on the way to the other things. We also appreciate and are a little bit concerned that President Obama just got around to having a call to action. I sometimes wonder what country he lives in, but apparently something happened in Ferguson and around the world, and he caught up and they met 115 days later, just yesterday or so, and he's calling for body cameras for police officers. At the same time, they're in White House calling for body cameras. Our mayor is vetoing body cameras here in Baltimore. So apparently we have a problem here. I understand it's about privacy. At the same time, confusion. We can get past all the versions to what actually happened. It protects everyone, both the victim and the police officers who are working hard on the streets. We recognize that too, that they have a very dangerous job to do. A couple things we're calling for, and Reverend Brown will take us through. What are we asking for? And then we're going to start breaking up into communities and doing something about it.
All right, so let me speak to some of the specific stuff. And many of you groups here tonight, you're already working on some of these, and so we're going to be directing people to connect and link with you who are already on the ground moving in those directions, so that those who are not active can plug into an existing avenue to do something. So one of the things that we're putting before you tonight is Civilian Review Board in Baltimore City needs to have teeth, i.e. subpoena power in this city to be able to bring police officers before the board and to restructure the board so it's not just those who the mayor, those in political power want to be on it, but it's community, true community representatives on the Civilian Review Board. For those who are not familiar with the CRB as it stands, it's basically, it has no teeth. All seats on the CRB, the Civilian Review Board, are not filled, and really they don't even have full meetings anymore in their sites. And so what we strive to do, really Marvin Doc Cheatham and among many others are working to revise and to strengthen the Civilian Review Board here in Baltimore City. So if any groups here, any groups tonight here working on the Civilian Review Board issue, is that one of your primary issues, any group tonight? All right, so get with Adam Jackson and get with Baltimore Black. So between Baltimore Black and with Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle, these two groups, lbsbaltimore.org, right, .com, lbsbaltimore.com. Y'all college students, ain't nobody writing. Somebody write down something or put it on Twitter or something. All right, so Leaders of Beautiful Struggle, lbsbaltimore.com, or you can go to Baltimore Block, and what's the site, Pike?
BLOC on any kind of social media.
And give us a quick 25-second, what is Baltimore Block?
It's a collective, grassroots collective of families, victims, police brutality. Tyrone West, Anthony Anderson, George Booker Wells III, Maurice Donald Johnson, Chris Brown.
BLOC, Twitter, y'all on Instagram yet? I know it's coming if it's not there yet, but check them out, Baltimore Block. Adam Jackson, who's the president of Leaders of Beautiful Struggle, is going to speak 25 seconds on what LBS is.
My name is Adam Jackson, Leaders of Beautiful Struggle. We're a grassroots think tank here in Baltimore.
My name is Adam Jackson. I'm CEO of Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle. We're a grassroots think tank here in Baltimore comprised of young people between the ages of 18 to 25. You know, if you want to link up with me, I'm on Twitter, Smart Black Man, or follow us at LBS Baltimore. Link up with us.
All right, great. Two groups. Get involved with them. Follow them. Sign up to their online social networking sites as well. Another issue that we're raising as well is, and really there's already been a little bit of momentum on this issue too, but it's an online database for officers in Baltimore City who are entangled in investigations or litigation on allegations of police brutality. That was in the Baltimore Sun recently, and before it hit the papers, there were people on the ground pushing for that to have online, and have that. Delegate Jill P. Carter is one from District 41 here in the state of Maryland. I don't know, she's not here, but maybe somebody from my office is, but she is one that's been pushing for that legislatively to have, so that we can have access to the information. So, for example, if you have a cop in your community, and this cop is known to abuse, harass citizens in your neighborhood, those red flags oftentimes are waving before it gets to the point of them killing somebody. Oftentimes there might be a civil suit or an allegation or something tied up in terms of investigation. We want to be able to have that information available to everybody in the city. I don't know about anybody else in here, but I want to know the officers in my neighborhood who the red flags are waving high on, so that I can alert my community to keep our eyes and our cameras on them.
Is there already a group or an individual working on this project in town?
So Delegate Jill P. Carter as an individual is, and she has legislation that's going to be coming again in the upcoming legislative session. Get with Baltimore Block as well on that issue as well.
I want to add that last one is extremely controversial. I do want to know that there are a lot of places that have to be worked out. Because when you start releasing the names of people, and you're saying they're involved in litigation, there's some people who might decide to take justice in their own hand. That's not what we're calling for. So this is a very controversial of legislation that some of us, this is where we differ, believe should be in the hands of some type of review board. I'm not completely comfortable with a police officer under investigation and the police officer's name gets put out there. I don't want justice being taken into people's hands. That's what we're trying to fight against. So it is very, very controversial. At the same time, on the national level, they are fighting to have this database of police officers directly involved in the shooting of unarmed citizens. That's a different database. And you can find that right online by pulling that up. So there are pieces to be worked out. We don't completely agree with everything. But how do we hold police officers accountable? I'm not quite sure we should just hold them up and place them out there, particularly if they're only under investigation.
And really, this is a great example of how the interrelated aspect of this comes into play. Because as Dr. Whitehead talks about a civilian review board who would receive that information, if your CRB has no teeth, then it can't be in that role to even hold police officers accountable. So that's just a perfect example of how this stuff works together. The next one real quick as I move through, Dr. Whitehead talked about body cameras on police officers. We understand as well that that's already moving, and I just believe that's going to happen anyway. The mayor might have vetoed it, but we're going to veto her veto, and that's going to happen in Baltimore City. You will see cameras on police officers in Baltimore City. We're going to keep on pushing on that front. And there are issues there to work out too. Can I just say, there's issues on all of this to work out, right? But it's their job to work it out. It's our job to continue to apply pressure and to stretch the political imagination so that we have different types of systems that govern ourselves, right? And so we don't have to do the job of the mayor and the elected official. We don't have to do all that job. If we're doing their job, we should be in office. Right? They're in office, they get paid, they have resources to do this. We're there to stretch the imagination, to apply the pressure, to make sure it is aligned with what the will and desire of the people are.
I also want to add to that when we start talking about a multi-level struggle, not everybody is going to go out and march. And I am definitely in support of everyone who marches. Some of us fight a different way. And the way that I fight, and I want to ask you to join me, is I write op-eds. I write letters to my congresspeople. I phone in on radio shows. I look to be a guest. That's another way we can struggle. We don't all have to be on the front lines marching. Let some people march. The rest of us get an op-ed out there. I have this imaginary guy in Dundalk. He does not exist, but I just assume this guy in Dundalk reads everything I write because he writes me a letter every time. And I think he goes and he turns on the Wi-Fi. He hates me as he tells me. It's like, my job is to get you out of your job. I'm like, you don't get paid for that. Like, you just can't work on getting me out of my job. But I always think the guy in Dundalk, he won't be at a march. He won't read my book. He won't read my article. But he will read an op-ed on Sunday morning with this coffee. That's the person I want to reach. Write your op-eds and put them in the Baltimore Sun because everybody's reading at least the Sunday edition. That's another way you can fight. It doesn't always have to be right out in the street.
A few more in terms of next steps. The Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights. Raise your hand if you know about the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights already.
Folks right here.
All right. Raleigh, tell us about the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights.
Okay. Let's put on the mic so folks in the back can hear you. Thank you.
I'm not going to go into complete detail about it because I don't know it by heart, but pretty much the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights is the one thing that is stopping us from completely holding police officers responsible for the violence that they commit in our communities. It has pretty much given them privileges to allow them to get away with murder. It is what allows them to not be charged and protects them from any types of charges in the line of duty.
Thank you. Yeah, that lack of accountability. The Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights, some of those privileges that Raleigh talked about is that, for example, an officer has 10 days after they engage in some kind of crime, they have 10 days to get their story straight. No, they got 10 days before they are interviewed or investigated or have to come in. Other things about the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights is that they can only be interrogated at their place of business, at their place of work, and at certain times with certain people around. What other things, Pine?
We can't know their disciplinary records. We don't know who the officers are that have committed these violated our rights. We can't get them drug tested. We can't get them psychological testing. There's multiple things. It's all available online. There's everybody to read the legislation. We're going hard against that in the General Assembly coming up in January.
Okay, in essence, for those who couldn't hear in the back, in essence, there's just a number of barriers to accountability in the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights, just to sum it up. and in the upcoming Maryland General Assembly, next legislative session that starts in January, that's one of the major things that's going to be popping off in Annapolis at the time. And that's just one way to engage it. Yes, brother?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that one of the most important aspects of the law enforcement officer's Bill of Rights is that the recommendations from the Civilian Review Board are not binding to the chief. The Civilian Review Board gets the cases after they're closed, and once they make a recommendation for punishment, it's not binding for the chief of police. They have the option of, of ignoring that recommendation.
What he just said is that he was talking about the Civilian Review Board. That was the piece that Reverend Heber Brown was saying. If the Civilian Review Board does not have any teeth, then they cannot make any changes. They do get the records of police officers after they have been closed. So they're not directly involved in the cases at that time. They make recommendations that can then be ignored. So one of the things we are pushing for is a more effective Civilian Review Board that has the power to make actual change, rather than just reading records and talking about it after it happened. Go ahead.
And there are other examples of civilian review boards that have greater power than one in Baltimore. Pittsburgh has an example of a civilian review board where their CRB has subpoena power and has greater degrees of authority to hold the police accountable. Thank you, brother, for sharing that and pulling that out. So that's number 4. I'm going to quickly get through the rest of this. On the federal level, I just gave you a lot of local stuff. The state level is the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights stuff. The federal level, there is an End Racial Profiling Act that's been hung up in Congress for the past couple of years. The lead sponsor of the End Racial Profiling Act is Senator Ben Cardin. And that act has been stalled. That is another way on the federal level. And so what I'm believing is that there are people who are under the sound of my voice who may want to get involved or engaged on different levels. Some of y'all may want to just focus on Baltimore City. Others may want to do state stuff. And we also give you federal stuff. As Dr. Whitehead said, we need people at every place, from the streets to the suites. We need folks who are able to put pressure on the system. And so the End Racial Profiling Act, you can look that up. Senator Ben Cardin is the lead sponsor on that. There are no co-sponsors at this time. And then with the upcoming Congress that's coming in, there's going to have to be significant pressure on the incoming Congress to even get some traction on that act as well. Did I see a hand at the door? No.
Now going above just the national level and talking about this end racial profile, there's also an end racial discrimination in America bill that's before the UN. So if you go onto the United Nations website, that is what they've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. Talking to the UN about our racial issues, obviously that's not new. That's something Malcolm X said. Let's take America to court and see what happens in the Court of International Justice. Well, it's taking place now. They're bringing in parents of children who have died at the hands of this system to speak and talk about what it means to grow up and be black in America. I'm like, we can talk all day about growing up and being black in America. That doesn't change anything. How can we get this country to be held accountable? There is one bill. Now, whether or not the UN has the power, because we all know we have not paid our dues to the UN in over 20 years, so we know we don't actually have the power of the UN, but what will it mean for the UN to look to hold America accountable for how it's treating its people?
So those are specific legislative items. There's some specific legislative items. I just want to add just a few things. Because of the number of college students and young adults, particularly in the room tonight, there's a few things as well that could be helpful for you as college students. So we've been encouraging and thinking about ways that you can continue to organize the strength and the power that you bring as college students. One of the brothers from Goucher last night when we was at Towson, he talked about and made us sensitive and made us remember that particularly in North Baltimore, Northeast Baltimore, and right over the city-county line, that in that area of Baltimore City, there are about 40,000 college students between the 4 or 5 colleges and universities in that area of Baltimore City. Let that sink in for a minute. Between Towson, Morgan, Loyola, who else? Goucher, who else? Right, in northern Baltimore City in particular, where you have that good mix of universities and colleges, there's at least 40,000 of y'all, 40,000 plus of y'all. And so when we really think about electoral politics, right, you can actually not just swing an election, but determine an election. And there are elections coming up in Baltimore, local elections that are coming up in Baltimore, and then of course you know that the national elections coming after that. You can determine elections if you organize, develop a young people's agenda in cooperation and alignment with the Tyrone West 7-point plan from the Tyrone West Coalition, the plans and points from the LBS family as well. If y'all develop an agenda as college students, you can decide elections in a significant chunk of Baltimore City. Not only electoral politics, because we know that electoral politics by itself is not the answer, let's be real, right? But we also know that if you bring resources together, raise your hand if you are a part of a black student union or a BSA at your college or university. Any BSU or BSA group, all right? Black student union, all right. So some of y'all are here, all right. Tell your friends what I'm about to tell you. So from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, every year the university gives a BSU or BSA a certain allotment of money for activities and the like that you're going to do for the year. Is that right? Is that right? Matter of fact, whether it's BSU or BSA or whatever clubs, you get some monies, right, for your activities. Instead of planning activities for your own group and with your own group alone, can you imagine if the BSA of Loyola got with the BSU of Towson and y'all got together and said, listen, they gave us $5,000. How much they give y'all? They gave us $7,500. How much they give y'all? They gave us $8,000. What if you put your resources together monetarily and said, we're going to do joint action together? And though my $5,000 with my BSU may not be all that much money, if I put it together in the spirit of cooperative economics, then we can really do something jointly, whether that means hiring yourselves to organize in this city, or whether that means establishing a co-op, or whether that means putting your money toward a joint action or a project. So whether you're in the feminist club, whether you're in the BSU club, whatever clubs you're at, think about ways that you can organize and begin that even tonight to establish relationships, to even bring the monies and resources together, and even meeting together on each other's campuses. Keep that going, because that degree of organizing really could help shift the conversation and the resources as well. To my white sisters and brothers here tonight, to a word for you as well, that I'm so thankful, and I've been on so many, I've been on I think every campus talking about racial lenses and white privilege and all this kind of good stuff. To my white folks in particular, I want to challenge and push you to use your white privilege responsibly. Use it responsibly. I understand and know that you were not born and then made a request of the doctor to give you some white privilege, please. I understand that. But what I believe you know, is that whether you ask for it or not, you are given privilege in this society. So think about ways you can use that privilege responsibly to help further the cause of justice in society as well, right? And so what that may look like. So what that may look like is white people going to jail in Baltimore City. All right, that was a slower clap, so let me explain it. I can't get no amens right there, but let me drop it. Black folk been going to jail for justice since we got here, right? Been pushing in terms of racial justice. We've been fighting for that. When in Baltimore City, one of the things that I'm sensitive about is young black youth on the front lines and been beat over the head, getting harassed and getting locked up. Oftentimes, when you don't have the resources to get out, so you got to stay there the whole weekend. But for many of you under the sound of my voice, you have a degree of privilege that you didn't ask for. I get it. But society gives to you, that you can be ones who follows the leadership of black people, who follows the leadership of those most directly impacted on this issue, and you follow that leadership to bend your privilege in the direction of justice.
Now I want to say something to add to that. Now, at the same time, there may be people here who are not even aware that they have privilege. I mean, he's talking about white privilege. Maybe you don't even know what that is. I would suggest starting with Peggy McIntosh's article, Unpacking the Backpack of Privilege. That when you start doing that, you start realizing what that looks like. Reverend Brown talked about the BSA and the BSU. I'm challenging all student groups, what we call intersectionality. Let's all work together and bring about change. Even though black folks have been going to jail since we got here, I would add to that as a historian, white folks have been on the line mind going to jail too with us as long as we've been here. So we've had allies all the way through. If you're looking for places to do that work, if you're wondering what that means, I want to point out the National Women's Studies Association. Patty, raise your hand. If you're looking for a place to do that, what does it mean to be an effective ally to a struggle? Go see her back here and she'll talk about that. Because it's not just enough to go to jail with us. And I will argue as an old woman, I have no desire to go to jail. I never grew up saying I wanted to go to jail. It's not just enough to go to jail with us. I'm really talking about organizing with us. Is there a way we can organize to keep people out of jail who are just trying to disrupt the system? Jail is for those who are committing crimes. It shouldn't be a crime to want to disrupt the system that's not working. That should not be a crime. Although we are criminalized, we want to stand up and say that our lives matter. So we start talking about joining together. I am saying we all have a degree of privilege that we should all unpack. I have my black students do that as well. We all have privilege. If you are in college, you have an incredible privilege. Whether you're black, white, or brown, if you get the degree in this country, that's privilege. If you have a job, that is privilege. Black, white, or brown, if you know where your next paycheck is coming from and you're going to eat tonight because you want to, that is privilege in this country. If you're going outside here and getting in your car and going home, you cut the lights off and they do come on and off, you turn your water on for your house, that is privilege. So we all have it, going beyond our skin color. So what can you do to use what you have to challenge this system? Thinking about ways to be held accountable to everyone. Reverend Brown?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can give it up for that. That's beautiful. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So those are some legislative agenda items. We also talked about some concrete things that college students and the like can do. And Dr. White was exactly right. White folks have been going to jail. White folks have been putting their bodies on the line. I remember as I'm studying, some of you are studying, and I'm going to throw out some stuff you can add in addition to the unpacking the white privilege knapsack. You can study Freedom Summer 1964, when a lot of white folks from up north went down south to follow the leadership of black people in the South, particularly in Mississippi and the like, and established freedom schools, and it's also established teach-ins just like this. And so that story is long, but also as a part of that story, we also know that the issues of what it means to be an ally with integrity has always been with us too. And so I'm so thankful for the woman who's here tonight. In fact, do you have a website or something that people can follow with you if they don't get a chance to talk to you tonight?
NWSA.org, right? NWSA.org. NWSA stands for the National Women's Studies Association. They are based here in Baltimore. It's an organization not just for women. It's for anybody who's interested in this idea of bringing equality to women. And that's another issue. We'll take that up next. But that's something we need to struggle with. That's about building allies and working across genders, working across races, working across class lines, because that is the only way it is going to change. I am absolutely convinced that change never happens because one group is pushing. The civil rights movement was not successful just because it was black people on the line. It's because people all over this country said enough is enough. And we recognize that something is wrong, something is broke, and we need to fix it. This is a great place to segue into the next point on our agenda, if you're following along with our agenda. We talked about our goals and plans. We talked about our next steps for social change. Now I want to talk about the messy part of it. What are some steps towards racial healing? I think what's interesting, and Reverend Brown will help me out as we go through this, there's something about being individually responsible. It's about challenging yourself. One of the things I have my students do is I have them go online to Harvard's website, and you just type in, you Google, am I a racist? You can do it at night when nobody's looking. Just Google, am I a racist? And Harvard's implicit test will come up. You take this test, it will tell you whether or not you're, isn't that technology wonderful? You take a test, you know you're racist, you can change it, right? Just that quick, just that quick. But I will tell you, as I tell my students, I take the test all the time and I fail every single time. Because the test has challenged you to think about and make those snap judgment decisions. When you see a black man, do you feel that he's dangerous? Are you afraid? Do you move? Do you think he's doing something wrong? And in those snap second judgments, your value system is exposed. So every time I take the test, I fail, and I say, I have more work to do. I have more work to do because I grew up in a system where there were no people that looked like me in the history books. So growing up, I never knew that black people were even that important because we got a box on the side of the history books. And anybody who's 40 plus probably can testify like I can. If it wasn't for my father telling me about the civil rights movement, I would have no idea that black people wrote books, fought in the civil rights movement. I often argue in my op-eds that we teach our young people black history in 1 month. So in 1 month, we were slaves, then we got free, then we rode on the bus, then we jumped the broom, and now Obama's president. So it's like, you know, Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman got married, they had a son named Obama, now he's in the White House. We collapsed all that history. So the first step to personal responsibility is finding out who you are. That Harvard implicit test, I mean, I'm not giving Harvard all the credit, but that's a good place to start. By being honest about the fact that you grew up in this system. Therefore, you are not only a prisoner of this system, you're the one that can set it free. The second thing about personal responsibility is being willing and able to do the hard work, which means you might have to go and get a history book. You may have to learn some history. You may have to understand that things are perhaps not the way you always thought they were. You have to know other black people's names other than Barack Obama and Oprah, and they are wonderful. Michael Jackson, of course. They are wonderful. But you've got to learn about the struggles that are happening. I challenge this to black people as well. We cannot get our history from the Baltimore Sun. We cannot get our history from History Now. We've got to be willing to do the work. The third one is about the training of young people. One of the things I said to Reverend Brown that most concerned me is when I think about Michael Brown, and when I think about Tamir Rice, and I think about John Crawford, I'm like, well, they had such faith in the system. Because my father would tell anybody, no black person would wave a gun around and say, hey, it's not real. And just assume they would accept your word and put their guns down. We need to train up our young men in how to respond in situations like that. We have to stop believing that just because we think it's post-racial, that we're all holding hands and singing Kumbaya. It's not that way. We have to train our young people better. And if you are of the age and young people are in your charge, then you are then responsible for training them in what to do. Ways in how to de-escalate the situation and not escalate it. Ways we don't have 12-year-old boys playing with guns in a gazebo in the evening anyway. Like he's not even out there from the start. That at 12 years old, why wasn't he home? I have all these questions that I'm sitting here and I'm tangling, I'm wrestling with, but that's about personal responsibility. Am I being responsible to the young people in my charge, not just my own sons, but to every young people I come in contact with? The fourth thing, and there are only 5, the fourth thing around personal responsibility, you have to be willing to challenge the isms. When a joke is made, walking away is not enough. Whether the joke is about black people, white people, whether it's about women, men, children, if that is undermining the very existence of a person, then you have to speak up. Because if you don't speak up, then nobody will speak up. I consider it my personal job to change the mind of that guy in Dundalk that I will meet one day. I think if I can get him to see people as being important, to see women as having a voice, to see the importance of black people in this country, then perhaps that's a job that I can do and do well. And the fifth thing, and this is what I think is the most important thing, you have to be willing to start within your own community. I think it's great to talk about marching in Baltimore City. It's great to get involved with the national, the international level. What are you doing to change your own communities? Do you know what's happening in your own communities? I drive through communities here in Baltimore City, and I ride past young men standing outside, and I wonder, why isn't someone telling them to go inside? Why don't they have a place to go? Why don't they have a park to play in? Why don't they have an after-school program? Why are there no books in the school? I know these are thousands of issues. Choose just one. Choose one issue that you say, I'm going to sink my teeth into this one thing. If it means just getting books into the local school that's down the street from my house, let me just do that. There's a lot of momentum behind Ferguson. There's a lot of momentum behind Ferguson. But as we work on Ferguson, there's still children who can't read need here in Baltimore City. So my question is, are we only going to deal with one issue at a time? Or are we going to deal with the fact that just like America, we are diverse people with diverse interests. We all can work on something. And that's that fifth thing around personal accountability. Find your issue. And like my father says, you grab it like a dog on a bone. And you don't let it go. Ferguson may not be your issue. Ferguson in Baltimore may not be your issue. Your issue might be nurturing young boys. Your issue might be working with some people in your church. Your issue might be community centers. You might have those type of things. Those are still relevant. They are still needed, and they are still necessary. Reverend Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great segue, because there's a number of you who also have specific and pointed thoughts to share with this group as well. We do want to try to build in some time just for some mingling before the very end of the night too, so we can organize and do some number exchange and the Instagram connect and all that kind of good stuff. Yes, brother?
That's what I was first. I thought we were supposed to be having a community discussion tonight.
Yeah, we are.
I wonder if we're going to get to that.
We're getting
Right now, yes, brother. Oh, that was it. Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
We have the mic. Come on up. And I'll put the scribes. I'll take the notes over here.
Okay. I'm not going to try to talk about the state of Black America because that is something I'm not an expert on, in case it isn't obvious. There are a couple things I want to talk to more white folks and people of color can pass as white about, and that is this. Gandhi, when fighting for Indian independence against the British, based his struggle on two things. That the Indian people would base one thing on, they'd realize that colonialism, with the infrastructure that it brought, was a knife of sugar, a sakar khichuri as they put it. That it was, yes, they could have longer life expectancies, modern infrastructure, but that they were not free, that they were slaves to a broader imperialist system. And two, they based their pacifist strategy on that the British ruling class had shame. I don't know, I've looked around at American history, and I don't know if Americans have, the American ruling class anyway, has shame. Let's review something. For all of you here who can trace your roots back to the Mayflower or to Ireland, the reason any of y'all are not indentured servants still, or not second-class citizens, is because they offered you a devil's bargain, a knife of sugar. You behave, we give you rights. Ignore the people from Africa and Asia and what they face. Second thing, voting rights. We'll allow you to vote. We'll have you have guns. We'll tell you to aim them. You want to vote? We'll tell you what the choices already are. And that's how it's been on equal rights. From the first voting rights struggle, from the first Union Supreme Court decision, 1820, Boston versus the Supreme Court of the United States, all the way down to the Stonewall riot. If you've been able to fight for something, it's because people, your next door neighbors, black folks, African Americans, have already been fighting for it. And when they fight the police in Ferguson, they may be only fighting it for them in the short term, because when you're oppressed, you take the most immediate target and fight it to gain some breathing room. But what they're doing is they're fighting for all of us. Same as what started in Mississippi in '64 led to Stonewall. Same as what started with John Brown and led to the Civil War and ended slavery, gave the space in 1877 for labor rights protests. So when it's civil rights time, it's also union time. And when we fight here locally against killer cops, we also need to fight for our justice on the clock, and we need to realize that what we fight for on the clock also can gain us reforms on the clock, as well as in our own neighborhoods. Because if we don't know us now, they will exterminate us. That is their plan.
Thank you very much. We're now going to break up into smaller groups. I want our 3 key people to stand up and raise your hand. There's one here, the 2 brothers over here in this corner. We want you to come into one of the groups. I think that Brother Brown will take the back group. I'll take the front group. And what we're talking about in these smaller groups is I'm dealing with the effective diversity training for police officers. We're going to talk about some steps for doing that. Over here, they're dealing with the call for body cameras. If that is an issue that you're interested in, make your way over this direction here.
Baltimore block, we'll hold that down. Y'all working on that. So organize around these 2 brothers right here, or these 3 brothers right here as well.
What's his issue?
Civilian Review Board. Those who are interested in learning more about that, come get with Adam Jackson, Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle, and come build and connect with that, with him.
We want you to share your name and addresses. We're talking the next 15 minutes, and then we'll come back together with some key solutions.
In 15 minutes, we'll come back. Listen, if you have to go, do me a favor. Go on, sign in the sign-in sheet, or go on, because I figured this group would be large. You can go to the Ferguson Be More hashtag, and you can text Fight Back to 22828. Text Fight Back to 22828 and sign up through the virtual online piece so we can stay connected and continue to build as well. So, Civilian Review Board, those who want to strengthen that, you're right here.
Body cameras are over here.
Body cameras to the left over here.
Diversity training is up front for police officers.
And the rest can come build with me in the back. But please go. The online database and continuing organizing in the community as well. I'm in the back. The online database of police officers. And there's a college caucus.
College students are up here in the corner. If you're in college, right here she's organizing.
Hey, Joe.
We want to thank all of our allies in the room. I'm looking particularly at NWSA. I'm looking at all the coalition groups, the brother over here, the brothers over there, who came tonight ready to work and ready to organize. So I want to thank them next, if you can give them a hand, for being ready to roll at all moments. And third, and most importantly, I want to thank you, because you came here ready, willing, and able to help. We are not doing charity work here. We are not about helping people who have less than ourselves. We are about seeing real change in our communities, and it can start here, which means you have a responsibility. When you get the email about the next steps, you gotta respond. When there's the next meeting, and just because you don't have food, you gotta come. You're gonna leave here feeling very good tonight. Feeling good is not enough. Feeling good only helps you. We want you to take those feel-good feelings into actually doing the dirty, hard, long, and tiring work to bring about change. We can do this, and we want you to do it with us. Reverend Brown?
All right, let's give Dr. Whitehead a hand, because I'm short too, I need you. All right, I'm really glad to see so many of you. We've been doing this thing for a long time together. I really appreciate you. I do not take for granted your time. And I really appreciate the genius that's in this room. I don't know about the other groups, but my little group right here, we the good group right here, we had that genius flowing. And diversity training, the college caucus up here, representing everybody doing that thing. Baltimore block over there, LBS over here. Listen, Baltimore is one of the most active cities that I've ever seen. It's a beautiful place. I love my city. And I love the fact that you got people banging on the system from every different direction in this city. I love it. I love it. What we encourage people to do tonight is to do that much more, to link your organizations, your issues together with others, right? And find the ways there are connections. Let me say very quickly, because a sister brought it up in our group, that we said at Jump Street, at the very beginning, that we weren't going to solve everything tonight. We said we weren't going to do that. I pray that we have put some things in the air to kind of continue to move the ball forward. There will be round two. We're going to continue this and make it a different format. I think about my brother who said, what about the community forum aspect? And another sister said, what about giving people more time to express themselves? right? Pleasant Hope Baptist Church. I told this to Towson last night. I said, listen, well, if y'all start infiltrating the churches, we can really start moving some stuff in the city from my point of view, because churches got money, churches got buses, churches got space. And so if your university won't let you organize, if your job won't let, oh yeah, we got food too, yeah, we cook for you. But if your university won't let you organize, and your job you can't organize, then I just believe as a pastor, yes, I got my pastor hat on, that the sanctuary of our churches are places where we got to infiltrate and redirect churches back into the sacred social justice principles that the Bible is built on from the very beginning. That's just my view. My man Joseph, he gonna give us a chant to give us out. This is the closing. Let me say, oh, thank you. And the email is on the agenda. Reach out, hit me at IG, hit us at IG, hit us at Facebook and Twitter. Look at the agenda. I did want to make the announcement about Person, Brother Person right here. He's working on that database that we might put police officers' names and information in the database, that we might hold them accountable. Even if the city don't do it, we're going to do it ourselves. Person said he needs help. He needs programmers. He needs people who have website capabilities and abilities. Get with Person. Wave your hand. Get with Person. Person is working on that right now. Get with him, and y'all build with him on this database piece. That's an important part as well. Let me say this final piece. This is not a 40-yard dash. This ain't a 40-yard dash. We high right now, right? And we've seen this before. Trayvon Martin, we were high for a minute, right? Marissa Alexander, we was high for a minute, right? Renisha McBride, we was high for a minute, right? 40-yard dashes for the masses is not enough to run a marathon of justice. All right, so let me put this as a part of our closing. We're going to have a song. Can you do your song? I'm going to put him on the spot. He's going to sing a little piece of a song. The people want a song. The people get a song. But he's going to sing a piece of a song. But let me add this. Anger and raw emotion alone is not a sustainable fuel for justice. It's not a sustainable fuel. There's a reason why my ancestors sang and danced and laughed, because oftentimes that provided the sustainable fuel to continue to be human in the face of an inhumane system. So can I encourage all of us that in the midst of this very serious work that we're engaged in, don't forget your soul. Soul work is important. It may not be as sexy, but I'm telling you it's significant. To engage in contemplative practices of meditation, mindfulness, yoga, prayer, song, dance, and food. This is serious, but don't take yourself too seriously, or you will burn out before you reach the finish line. And so we're going to sing a little bit to close this out on a high note. Tend well to your soul, family. This is not just the day of tomorrow. This is for your children, your grandchildren, and your great-great-great-grandchildren. And we're going to run this thing all the way to the finish line. My brother going to sing. I'm going to sing. I'm going to get us all singing. And he got this voice. He's going to drop on us. But maybe you heard this song. If you know it, sing it with me. If you don't know it, learn it quick and sing it with me. And we're going to say one thing before we do that.
All right. How y'all doing today? My name's Joseph. If nobody don't know. All right. First of all, I want to know whose book do I have. I want to give it back. All right. For all the college students that I was talking to, did everyone sign the sheet? That's very important. All right. And one more last thing. We having a big event tomorrow at Morgan State in front of the police department. I think that's Eastern District at 6:30. If you can, come out. If you can't, please relay the message to your friends, family. Put it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Kink, whatever that you have. Because we need a lot of people. The more, the best, the better. So, that's all I have to say about that. And we're going to start with
So another thing, because that sign-in sheet, I'm sure some of you have missed it. But if you text...
We want all the sign-in sheets. Please leave them at the front desk.
There they go right there. Put them at the desk. For those who don't sign or didn't get there, you can also text FIGHT BACK to 22828. Text FIGHT BACK to 22828. If you put your email there too, we'll add it to that list. We'll all be together and continue. That's this song, real quick. All right, choir rehearsal at Red Endless. This is history making tonight. Here's the song. It says, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. If you know it, just sing it. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, Come on, clap, sing it one more time. Come on. This little light of mine. Come on, lift your voice. I'm gonna let it shine. Listen to yourself. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Give yourselves a hand.
Let's go. Let's go.
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
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 What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
No justice!
No peace!
No racist!
Police!
No justice!
No peace!
No racist!
Police!
No justice!
No peace!
No racist!
Police!
Can't stop!
Won't stop!
Won't stop!
Won't
So
stop!
kill a cop
Till kill a cop!
and cell block!
In cell block!
Can't stop!
Can't stop!
Won't stop!
Won't
So
stop!
kill a cop
Till kill a cop!
and cell block!
In cell block!
Can't stop!
Can't stop!
Won't stop!
Won't
So
stop!
kill a cop
Till kill a cop!
and cell block!
In cell block!
Can't stop!
Can't stop!
Won't stop!
Won't
So
stop!
kill a cop
Till kill a cop!
and cell block!
In cell block!
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
I got a feeling. I got a feeling. Oh, I got a feeling that somebody's trying to hold us back, and it ain't gonna be no like that.
Come on.
I got a feeling. I get a hand clap. I got a feeling. Oh, I got a feeling that somebody's trying to hold us back, and it ain't gonna be no like that. I got a feeling. Y'all got a feeling? I got a feeling. We ain't doing nothing wrong. They sitting outside already. Got a feeling that somebody's trying to hold us back, and it ain't gonna be no shit like that. One more time. I got a feeling. I got a feeling. Oh, I got a feeling that somebody's trying to hold us back, and it ain't gonna be no shit like that. All right. Give yourself a hand clap. All right, these 8 words I always say since I've been doing this protest thing. No weapon formed against us shall not prosper. And I'm gonna repeat that. No weapon formed against us shall not prosper. No matter if we black, we white, any race you are, right is right and wrong is wrong. It's not about black people dying, black males. It's not about black females dying. It's about right is right, wrong is wrong. Because personally for me, if it was the other way around with another race, I'd still be out here doing the same thing. Just because right is right and wrong is wrong. It's not about your color. And I want to sing one more last thing. No weapons formed against me shall help prosper. It won't work, so no weapons formed against me shall well prosper. It won't work. If y'all know it, sing along. So no weapons formed against me shall have prosper. It won't work. So no weapons formed against me shall have prosper. It won't work. So no weapons.
This is our closing prayer, the words of Messiah Shakur.
So I'm going to say it and I want y'all to repeat after me.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
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 Thank you, everybody. God bless y'all. Thank you. Sign the sign-in sheet. Look for part 2. Baltimore Block, LBS, back. All the groups represented. Much respect and much love. You can sign the sheet or text "fight back" to 22828. Text "fight back" to 22828 or sign the sheet. Let's stay connected.
And everyone follow me on Instagram if you have an Instagram. It's $103 DOLLARSIGNS 103. One more time. $103.
Thanks, man. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. If there's one thing you can do if you're hanging out, if you could help stack chairs in stacks of 3, that would be really helpful, actually. We are still open for another few minutes, another 45 minutes or so, but the food and drinks will be closing in about 10 minutes, so get last orders in. Also, hey, everybody, if I can have your attention real quick, excuse me, if I can have people's attention real quick, there is state repression and murder going on around the world, including right below us in Mexico, and there is a serious issue of state repression where students are being disappeared and murdered. There is solidarity happening across the country tomorrow. And there are several actions in Baltimore related to Mexican solidarity. I really, if you are available to be at Penn Station for a march at 5:30, there's going to be a vigil at 6:30, and then there is going to be a gathering here at 7:30. 7:30 tomorrow here. So it's very important. Check out what's going on in Mexico because the state is being criminal. Thank you everybody for coming. Hope to see you again.